Wildcat is, I mean, she's such a sweet, sort of deeply damaged girl who's been at the clinic for years and years and years, and she was taken in when she was just a very young child who was deeply, very quite, terribly abused by her stepfather, and would imagine that she was a wildcat because she was attempting to commit suicide, and she would kind of scratch herself and imagine that she had like 9 lives like a cat, so she'd be able to survive the abuse, and then was sort of found one day after an attempted suicide and brought to this clinic, and she's grown up here under the care of Dr. Angeli. They have a very, very strong and also a bit ambiguous relationship. And she, I think she's on the cusp of, even though she's 20, she's on the cusp of just like, she's like a little girl, just entering adolescence, who she falls in love with Jacob and is so drawn to this enigmatic, lupine, handsome boy. Dr. Angeli is the therapist, and it's great how Eileen has brought her to life as well. She's this woman who I think like has a good heart. She's been at the clinic for ages and ages, but sort of believes, she's renounced her own life. She has very little contact with the world outside. She believes in these therapies. She loves these children. It's become her kind of like way of living. But in the end, she is also a very weak woman, because she does conform as well to Dr. Mann's methods and kind of accept the cruelty which takes place. But she has her own, she has her own sadness that she carries with her, her own vulnerabilities. Like, she loves Wildcat like a daughter, like a sister, like a lover. So there's a very conflicted relationship with this little girl that she's taken in and has like grown up and slept beside her for 16 years. Dr. Mann, the zookeeper, he's so many things, and yet at the same time obviously clearly an antagonist in the film, but a fascinating man, because he has some aspects really of a cult leader, of someone who can really motivate people. He's a very well read, very kind of intelligent and sophisticated man who has been burnt in life by an experience with someone who suffered from this illness, and really believes, I think initially believed in the idea of curing it, and then kind of built this little empire which got slightly out of control. I think with Paddy, something which has been very nice to discover is also these softer sides of him, and not making him just this one-dimensional bully, because I don't think he is that. I think he has these sort of these moments when you should listen to him and think, but maybe he's right. Like, what are they doing to these kids? They're going to throw their lives away. So the process of rehearsing with the cast was great. It was intense. It was fun. We had Terry Notary, who's just the legend. He's a movement choreographer slash actor in his own right slash acting coach. Like, he's really a jack of all trades, and he worked so much with the kids on, particularly with George and Lily, but then a little bit with all of them on just finding their animal persona. There was a lot of movement work with George, starting from crawling, finding the crawl, finding the way that he would, sit as a wolf, lie as a wolf, walk up the stairs as a wolf, transition down from up into wolf and back up again, and where are you present when you like look into the distance and you find infinity, or if you're instead of focusing on a smell, like such profound range of discoveries. I did a lot of improvisations with them, like so many. One was this like epic 4-hour improv with all the kids, and I had sort of started, and I was like, oh, you can kind of half be in your characters, but because a lot of the characters are quite silent, I didn't want to limit them entirely. So I was like, we can discover more things as a process of discovery. And so it started off with them sort of being their characters, but answering questions, let's say, more fully. And then I saw that it was kind of growing, and everyone was so present in their character. So, and I was playing the therapist, a therapist, not Dr. Angeli, but just a therapist. And so we just went on and on and on, and it got wild. And then like I would give them little motivations, like to Lola the parrot. I was like, rebel. And so she started a rebellion. So they all escaped outside, and like me and the Maisie was filming, and Roshi and our trainee were just like trying to gather them. The indoor garden um, is something which changed when we found the location. So I guess it was a sort of, it's a tiered process, because there's obviously the first layer is the script, and you imagine this world, and it has this kind of like austerity, but also these elements of color and the plasticity, but the relationship with the woods outside. So the first part was actually, and I think a huge part was going around and finding this place, this space, and we were so lucky with Jess to be able to find this hotel which has everything, and has, you know, the forest over there, and it's all one space. And then I saw this abandoned swimming pool, and I just thought, okay, instead of it being a courtyard, it should be an indoor garden. And so it further enhances that relationship between, like, you know, the claustrophobia of the inside and the outside. So like actually finding the set was had a whole new impact. What I would love is that they watch this film and are on this last moment of this boy running into the woods, and they just wonder, you know, like, is he a wolf, is he a boy, what will happen to him, feel moved by the separation from Wildcat, feel uncertain for what future can lie ahead, feel touched for the terrible things that he's lived, hate the world that we live in, which suffocates our being, but also question whether, you know, we are able to, like, what does it mean to sort of kind of define your identity.